What if I told you that there's one trick you haven't thought of yet in order to dominate your March Madness bracket challenge this year? It's also cool because it has nothing to do with finding the hottest teams or picking the best upsets or even anything related to the bracket itself. Instead, this trick is all about how many people are in the bracket group that you are going to be in. By the end of this video, you're going to have a full perspective on why elite bracketologists and real data scientists care about how many people are in your pool and how you can leverage this information to win that pool this year. This all comes from a 2024 study that approached March Madness as a math problem specifically related to the concept of information entropy. Now I'm going to butcher this because I don't have the science background, I have more of a data background, but entropy in simple terms is really just how unpredictable your picks are in this context. So a super low entropy means you're picking all the favorites, going all chalk with all the 1 seeds. And super high entropy means that you pick the favorite mascots and all of a sudden you have 3 14 seeds in the final 4. What these researchers discovered is that the perfect bracket selection is all about optimizing the amount of entropy in your bracket relative to how many other brackets you're competing with. And if that was a silly sentence, let me explain. Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's say you and I both create brackets and we're going to be in the same group here. And we're also making equally as good brackets. Like if we were to sum up the quality of good picks versus bad picks that your bracket had versus my bracket, let's say they were about the same. Maybe you have a couple of really good insights on the Big Ten schools. And since I went to Tennessee, I have a couple key insights on SEC schools. Like for example, that Alabama's overrated. Now, the only difference between your bracket and my bracket is let's say your bracket is very high entropy. So you have a lot of upsets in yours. And mine's low entropy. I kind of went mainly chalk, and as much as I hate to say it, maybe I put Auburn as winning it all. Well, even with equally strong brackets as far as how accurate and good the predictions yours is compared to mine, I will actually outperform you a lot if we are in a very small pool together. Like if it's you, me, and 15 of our buddies, my bracket is a much better bracket for that pool than yours. However, if you and I were joining a larger bracket group for like a large content creator or some other big one, your bracket is way better than mine, even though they're just as good, and it's all about how risky you were compared to me. Because when you throw my chalk-heavy bracket into a group of 10,000 others, all of a sudden, there's like 400 other brackets that are going to be just as boring and bland as mine. In order to win some of those really large pools, you have to take some key risks that only you are able to get the value from if they actually happen. Sure, you're probably not always going to win that. Like if you put Wofford in your final 4, you're probably not going to win your bracket group. But if they did make it, then you would be one of the very few that is able to capitalize on that successful pick. So in addition to the usual of making sure that you are being very smart about, who you're picking and making sure you're picking the right 12 seed or the right 8 seed to make a deep run, you do need to account for that and you do need to be aggressive. So here's a helpful heuristic to help you make better picks for this year's March Madness. If your pool has 30 people or less, you should be pretty chalky and you should pick a favorite to win the championship, as much as I hate to say it, all right? Sort by descending odds to win it all, pick someone in the top 3 or 5, ideally pick number 1 or number 2, and roll with that. There's no need to pick a 9 seed to win it all when you're competing against 8 other people, because they're all going to have 8 different champions. Maybe one of them is going to pick their alma mater. I'm picking Tennessee for obvious reasons, or maybe somebody else is just going to pick all the other 1 seeds. If your pool has between 30 and 100 people, you can be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe there's a lower seed that you feel really strongly about making a Final 4 run, like a 4 or 5 seed, and you could do that. Just make sure that, again, the champion is someone that's pretty likely. Now, if your pool is larger than that, that's where you got to start being more aggressive, okay? If it's between 100 and 1,000 people, you should treat that as like, hey, I should be pretty aggressive here. And if it's above 1,000, you need to be very aggressive, okay? Consider a champion that is outside of the top 3 to win it all. Or if you're going to pick a favorite, that's fine. Try and pick selectively a couple teams to make Final 4 runs or Elite 8 runs that nobody else is going to be expecting. Now, again, don't make the bracket bad, okay? I'm not saying put a 16 seed in the Final 4, but what I'm saying is if you're in a larger bracket group, you gotta take risks. Who those risks are is going to be up to you and your knowledge of basketball or whatever other information you see over the next week while you're making your bracket. But just know, my one tip is if you're in a big bracket pool, you got to be super aggressive. If you're in a small one, don't be afraid to be chalk heavy, okay? That's how you're gonna optimize your chances to win your bracket pool. And that's just one small tip in addition to the other 50 that I'm sure you're gonna hear over the next week. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this wasn't too simple of an idea, but it is cool that we see it being backed by real public research. And if you found this interesting, consider subscribing. We're going to be doing a lot more statistical deep dives here on this channel. I know it's new. I know there's probably like 8 followers right now, but I appreciate you so much for watching either way. Hope you have a great March Madness and your bracket is awesome. It'll be extra awesome if you put Tennessee in the Final Four. Okay, that's my one pick. That's all I'll say. But all right, peace out.